Hi guys, Corey Davis here, and I'm trying to get you ready for your first Hyrox race. A Hyrox race is 8 rounds of a 1,000-meter run paired with some sort of fitness event. The second event is a 50-meter sled push. Now let's talk about technique on the sled push. The first thing we want to do is we want to kind of use an unconventional technique where we slide our shoulders through the sled. That'll let us get our body weight over the weight of the sled, and it's actually a much easier position to use on a sled push. A big mistake I see people make here is they see an athlete do that and they misinterpret what they're seeing, and instead they try to put their shoulders on the bar. This is wrong and will not be easier at all for you. You want to make sure that you slide your shoulders through the sled so you actually get your body weight over the peg instead of behind the sled. Afterwards, we want to make sure that we have about a 45-degree angle between our hip and our back foot. That 45-degree angle will allow us to push the sled really efficiently and make sure that we're actually driving the sled forward instead of just picking it up and digging the front of the sled into the turf. We want to make sure that we use both legs as we push. A big mistake I see a lot of people make is they leave their front leg too far forward, and that shin gets so vertical that it can't actually push them back like they need to. Instead, make sure that both legs are back slightly so that both legs can actually dig into the ground and propel you forward. Finally, we want to make sure that we fully extend our legs on every rep. That'll both help us cover more ground and make sure that our big, strong glutes actually get involved in this section of the race. Now let's talk about pacing on the sled push. The sled push is a really tough event that gives a lot of people trouble at a Hyrox race. First, we want to make sure that we don't dig ourselves into too deep of a hole. So when you get to the sled push, you want to push it at a nice, steady, consistent pace and brake before you have to brake. If you go so far that you have to stop, you're going to be in a really tough position. And if you wait until you recover from that, everyone else will finish the entire race before you feel good again. Sleds are tough. I think the best strategy for you to adopt if you're not sure where you stand on this event is to do about 10 steps, 5 on each leg. Stop, breathe for 2 or 3 seconds, and then go again. This should help you keep your heart rate down enough where you can stay steady and consistent on the sled push. If you feel like this is a real strength for you, I would push it halfway down. The entire length is going to be 12.5 meters, so you could push half that, like 6.25 meters, and take a break for a predetermined amount of time. 2, 3, 5 seconds. The biggest tip I have for you is to determine before the race how long you're going to rest there and hold yourself to that. Because once again, this is a station that really gets out of people's control quickly as they rest for too long. The strategy on the sled push is not that complicated. We want to make sure that we get through the event quickly without it trashing our legs so bad that your next run isn't terrible. To do that, I would need you to jog in aggressively to the sled and then stick to the strategy that you had beforehand. If that's going 10 steps or that's going half a length, that's fine. If you're doing this as a doubles race, I would either split this by one partner doing an entire length and alternating in that fashion where each person goes twice, or have each person go 4 times because you split it halfway. Either way, all of our pacing still applies. We want to make sure that we do this as quickly as possible without going so far that we trash our legs for the next run. Now let's talk training substitutions. Full disclosure, the sled is going to create a feeling in your legs that is not replicated by anything else. I highly recommend you get to a sled to practice it before your event. If that's not reasonable though, there's a few things you can do that'll help give you that same dead leg feeling. One that I really like is a barbell step up. That both replicates the weight that we're going to be using and it's going to allow that split position. Similarly, a Bulgarian split squat works really well to train single leg strength, which is what we're doing on that sled push. Finally, if we just want to trash your legs and make your heart and lungs work really hard, a high rep goblet squat is going to do a pretty good job of replicating that feeling. Overall, the sleds in Hyrox are very heavy, whether you're doing the open weight or the pro. So I highly recommend really focusing on getting your legs stronger through all the traditional exercises like a squat or a deadlift that you would normally do in your program.